Hey, what's up? This is Satchel from Steel Panther. Who's Steel Panther? I'll tell you. We're one of the greatest heavy metal bands that's ever come out of Canoga Park, California. And we've got a brand new record coming out. It's called On the Prowl. It's coming out February 24th. But listen to this list of some of the best and most influential records on my life as a youth. Wow, my 13th birthday. I don't actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to be totally honest with my fans. I don't know when I was born. I don't know the actual date because my mom was a drunk. And I do know that I did turn 13 at some point. I think one of the first albums I heard as a kid, I didn't realize it until I was probably a little bit older, was Deep Purple, Machine Head. Machine Head, I had older cousins that played that for me while we all sat around and did cocaine. That was the one with Smoke on the Water. I know everybody says Smoke on the Water. Oh, God, we're tired of that song. You can't get tired of Smoke on the Water. I'm sorry. It is what it is for a reason. It's only got 7 songs, by the way. A lot of records come out now. They've got like 17, 18 songs on it. More than ever, bands should be cutting songs out. Cut out the fat. Just put like 6 or 7 songs on. People don't have the attention span. Deep Purple figured it out in 1971 or whatever it was. That was it. That was the one record that influenced me. One of the next albums that I remember hearing before I even picked up a guitar was Van Halen 1. I think I heard Eruption before I picked up a guitar, and I just thought, well, I guess I shouldn't really play guitar because this guy just did everything that you can do on a guitar. But I picked it up anyway, and now I'm making dozens of dollars a week. We're carrying the torch. Eddie passed the torch, and we said, you know what, we're going to keep on rocking for you, Eddie, because somebody's got to keep rocking. And I'll be dead very soon in the next few months, and I'm going to pass the torch to some other kids. He was a great guitar player and a big influence on me, and a big influence on an entire generation of rockers. So we're going to keep on rocking because Eddie told us to, basically. The next album I would say that had a really big influence on me was the band Rush, 2112. So far, every record that I've named, people are like, oh, okay, boomer, right? Yeah, boomer. Yeah, the boomers got it right, okay? 2112 by Rush was an incredible record for a lot of reasons. From the very first notes of that record, you cannot stop listening. This entire record was inspired by a book by someone named Ayn Rand. And if you've never read any Ayn Rand, set out and read some of her books because it's really boring. Neil Peart really did a great job of putting it to lyrics, and the whole band does such an amazing job. They're really some of the greatest musicians of a generation. And that's a very influential record on me, as well as all the boomers out there, all us old musicians. So we all learned every note. And if you're a kid now and you've never heard 2112, go listen to it in its entirety and learn all the parts on whatever instrument you're playing, because it's not going to be easy. Black Sabbath. Of course, you got to have a Black Sabbath record on there. When I was a teenager playing guitar, and I remember buying Paranoid. Tony Iommi, like some of the heaviest riffs that were ever written are on this particular record. When you listen to War Pigs, you listen to Paranoid and Rat Salad and Electric Funeral. It was just hard not to be influenced by an album that's that heavy. And the lyrics are great too. Ozzy was great. Ozzy was so good. It's no wonder he had such a long career, because he set himself up with albums like that in Sabbath. Go listen to that record in its entirety. If you're not inspired, you're dead inside. Okay, let's go to another place. I know I'm a heavy metal guy, but David Bowie was a massive influence on me. One of my favorite David Bowie records ever was an album called Hunky Dory. It sounds like he's just hanging out with you in your living room, and he's singing to you, and he doesn't really care. Like, he doesn't care what it comes out off, whether it's perfect or not. And yet it is perfect because his voice was so beautiful. I think Life on Mars is on that record, which is one of the best songs ever written. And this guy was like reinventing everything: his clothes, his face, his lyrics, his approach, all the instrumentation. He was a brilliant, brilliant dude. AC/DC, Back in Black. I know, Boomer, Back in Black, everybody has the Back in Black. Not enough guitar players talk about Malcolm Young, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I don't think it's a limb I'm going on, but I'm gonna say this. Malcolm Young was probably the most influential guitar player in rock, if not in guitar. Probably influenced more people as a guitar player than Eddie Van Halen. I'm saying this, more than Eddie Van Halen, more than Robert Johnson, more than Eric Clapton, more than any guitar player, because think about all the bands that have come after AC/DC that have tried to write AC/DC sounding songs, like with 3 chords. Well, everybody thought they were done, right? And then they came out with Back in Black. What an inspiring record to come back with and just shove it down everybody's throat. Hey, Iron Maiden, okay? I'm a heavy metal guy. I love Iron Maiden. I could say Number of the Beast. I think that's one of the best records ever written. I'm gonna say Peace of Mind, because to me, it's a very difficult, I don't know which one's better. Both those records, Peace of Mind and Number of the Beast, are both so good. Bruce Dickinson, what an inspiring guy, right? I mean, is there anything that guy can't do? I almost want to cut the hamstring on the back of his leg and just make life a little harder for him, you know? Just make it a little harder. Everything comes so easy to Bruce Dickinson. Now I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna take a little left turn. Maybe if you're a boomer like me, if you're an old man and you think you know a bunch of great heavy metal records, this one maybe you won't know. Michael Schenker Group, Assault Attack. Listen, Michael Schenker, he had a big influence on my guitar playing. I think he's slightly batshit crazy too, which makes him even cooler. In my book, I've heard stories that he's out of his mind, which I love. Great songwriter too. All the songs on that record are just so great. So go listen to that record. Okay, Boomer Satchel. What else is there? Led Zeppelin. I mean, every record they did was brilliant in my opinion. But Led Zeppelin 4 is one of my personal favorite records. I know it's got Stairway to Heaven on it. It seems like a no-brainer, but there's all kinds of stuff on this record that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense on paper, and then when you hear it, it makes all the sense in the world. Black Dog, which is like the strangest. I mean, nobody knows how to play it. Nobody ever plays it right. Nobody knows where one is. Stairway to Heaven as a song is some of the simplest, most beautiful stuff you'll ever hear on a rock record. I remember hearing that, like, stories about how they wrote that song in like 10 minutes. It came out and they just went, Robert Plant was like, I just wrote the lyrics down and it made me realize that, sometimes as a songwriter, you spend all this time laboring for the right riff and the right key change and the right notes to go together and the right melody. And sometimes you just got to go with your gut, right? Go with your gut and kind of let it come out. And sometimes that's going to be the best stuff, and you shouldn't think about it too much because it gets too intellectual. But that's obviously a great record. Every song on it is wonderful. So go listen to it. It'll change your life. I'll end it with this. Since I'm a heavy metal at heart, when I walk through the airport and I go through the metal detector, I usually take off all my clothes and it still sets off the metal detector. And because of that, I will end with this. One of my favorite records from the 80s, this came out in 1983, Judas Priest, the album Screaming for Vengeance. Rob Halford's awesome. Glenn Tipton is phenomenal as a songwriter. I think the riffs that he's written, Take These Chains, the song Screaming for Vengeance, it's got Devil's Child, it's got Riding on the Wind, it's got some of the best heavy metal songs you'll ever hear, and it's got, in my opinion, Rob is one of the top singers that's ever, walked the face of the earth. He's a great singer. If you haven't sat down and listened to this album all the way through, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing your grandchildren a disservice. So go, put it on for yourself, bring your kids into the room, and turn it up so loud that it makes your ears bleed. It's a great record.